Before anybody asks, yes, the reason why we're making shorter videos is because these gameplays are shorter gameplays. It is hot. It's not my franchise mode or my season mode going at it right here. I do have a whole bunch of hut on the side, which is why we're going to be using them here, which I probably should have mentioned in the first video of the day, but hey, we're here in the third one, so might as well get it out of the way because I know some people would inevitably ask about it. But today we're talking about an article posted onto The Athletic by Craig Custance. Here's the tweet promoting it: which star player might be traded in the next calendar year, and which team has had the best offseason. Here are what the NHL agents say in an agent survey. What Custance did was he took 21 representatives from around the league and he asked them about some pretty cool stuff. Star, trade talks, bubble standouts, off-season winners, etc. I'll leave a link in the description to this article if you want to go ahead and read it. But because The Athletic is paid for content, we're not screenshotting parts of that article. Instead, we're going on to NHLTradeRumors.me. It's a weird source, I know that, but what they did was they spoke about one of the possibilities in the trade department that is mentioned in Custance's article. So if we go over to the actual Trade Rumors article, it does say this: the Los Angeles Kings may trade away Jonathan Quick. Here's what this article goes over about Craig Custance's piece. Recently, he polled some NHL agents on who may be traded this upcoming year, and Jonathan Quick's name came up as someone who could potentially be moved. Here's the quote: Jonathan Quick. His contract drops down, the payout drops down. They're not trying to win, and he's healthy. So, could we see a Jonathan Quick trade sometime in the next calendar year? Now, the next part of this NHL Trade Rumors article goes over a whole bunch of teams that actually might be involved in that. And because, we got nothing else to talk about, why not just suggest the ideas that are discussed in this article? Because obviously, it's not saying anything's in stone or any links to any of these teams are actually being made. That's why I didn't brand the video that way. But here's what the piece on NHLTradeRumors.me says: expect some interest to come from Colorado, Edmonton, Buffalo, Carolina, and potentially Pittsburgh and the New York Rangers if their team's young goaltenders falter. And obviously that's just spitting. That's just pulling out some teams out of thin air and just saying, okay, maybe these teams could be interested. But at the end of the day, the same idea is the prevalent one over here. Jonathan Quick's name could potentially be in the trading discussions, according to what some NHL agents believe. So, why could this be? Well, first off, it is mentioned in the quote here, but the LA Kings, they're a pretty bad team. They're a team that a lot of people don't really think is in a position to win much all too soon, because they're a team that just is plain bad. Their best guys are past their primes. Some of their other guys that were really good, they traded away. So they're in a position where now they're building towards the future, and if you want another look at the LA Kings and their future, check out Tyler Wardy's video. I'm featured in it. We talk about LA Kings stuff for an hour, so it's very, very nice. We talk about all the prospects and all that, so quick plug over to Tyler Wardy and his great material. But there are indeed some very good pieces going into the long-term future for the Kings. Quinton Byfield, Gabe Vilardi, Tyler Madden, Akil Thomas, Jared Anderson-Dolan, Arthur Kaliev, Samuel Fagemo, Jordan Spence, Tobias Bjornfot. You have so many great guys over there on that squad, and the next decade is going to be so good to the LA Kings if a lot of these guys are able to fulfill the exceptionally high potentials that some people on Twitter, on YouTube, and the media believe they have. So, what do you do for an LA Kings team that does have some of those older assets and that does have a whole bunch of opportunity to lose and up their draft pick for 2021? You sell. You sell at the deadline. You sell your older guys that don't really serve too much of a purpose on the team because, hey, even though they may be good, they're older. They would probably like to win a lot more than they would be if they were on the LA Kings. And hey, Jonathan Quick is 34 years old. He is in that boat. He is a guy who is currently making $5.8 million until 2023, but the AAV is indeed just that. It's the overall money that he's being paid that actually does change up, because he was getting paid $7 million in total salary and base salary for the past few years. Now that drops down to 3.5 and then eventually 2.5. So the actual money that he's being paid out in dollars is a little bit different from the cap hit. And because there's that big decrease, you could argue that some NHL teams would be like, okay, well, Quick is not as expensive as he was before in terms of out-of-pocket money. If we want a nice veteran goaltender who is one of the best American goalies to ever play the game, who was at a .904 last season, which isn't terrible, certainly not bad, especially for playing on the Kings, who actually bounced back from a really bad year in 2018-19 where he was at an 8.88. You gotta remember with Jonathan Quick, though, he was a guy who was 2 years removed from being a 9-2-1 goaltender in 64 games. That's a lot of games, man. And then in the playoffs that year, he was stoned over by the Vegas Golden Knights. I remember that series incredibly well. It was Quick versus Fleury. Fleury ended up winning. It was a 4-game sweep, a 9-4-7 over here for Jonathan Quick in those 4 games, even though the Kings lost. Definitely not great to see in terms of the overall morale, but he still performed exceptionally well. That was 2 years ago, so who knows if that's still laying somewhere dormant in Jonathan Quick. We just don't know. So who knows if at the deadline the LA Kings are eventually going to be like, okay, well, we have a Cal Peterson. We trust this Cal Peterson to eventually come in and make a significant impact for our LA Kings. Maybe we can trade for a smaller caliber goaltender and get some picks back or whatever if we trade away a Jonathan Quick. Or if the Kings want to go full on just 3D chess mode, who knows if their draft pick is lying in, I don't know, the top 5, top 7, top 8 range of the draft. Who knows if the Kings go the ultimate 3D chess route, they trade away Jonathan Quick, maybe it's at the draft, maybe it's at the trade deadline or something, and then they draft in the 2021 draft Jesper Wallstedt. That is definitely a possibility. If you want to go from the old to the new, you go from the best American goaltender at one point in the world to the best Swedish goaltending prospect, one of the best goaltending prospects in the entire world alongside of Yaroslav Askarov and Jesper Wallstedt. Check out the video we made about him if you want to know what his story is all about, but there are indeed a whole bunch of options here. So for the LA Kings going forward, I'm asking you this. If you're trading away Jonathan Quick, what do you want back in return? I guess everybody can kind of say the same thing, picks and prospects, but specifically, what exactly is the return you're hoping for? Because I know it's easy to go out there and say, okay, well, just give us a whole bunch of stuff, but is that a second? Is that a third? Is Jonathan Quick at 3 more years at a 5.8 AAV, but you're only paying him a little bit less than that, a 2-point-something actual monetary value coming off of your books or whatever? Is that a second-round pick? Is that a third? Is that a top 6 caliber prospect? Or is that somebody who is a little bit better than that? I don't know. There certainly is a market for these goaltenders, and as the article does suggest, the NHL Trade Rumors.me article actually, there are indeed some other teams that may be more desperate than others depending on their own goaltending situations. Specifically Pittsburgh, if the Jari experiment doesn't end up working the best way that it does, or if by some miracle Igor Shesterkin in New York ends up not performing to standard. It would be very weird to see Jonathan Quick in another jersey other than the Kings, especially on the Penguins and or the Rangers of all teams. Imagine Jonathan Quick eliminating the New York Rangers in 2014 and going to that team 6 years later. That'd be weird. But at the end of the day, there certainly are some options. So talk to me in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this. My laptop's gonna die, man. I need to get off of this video really quickly. And bye.